Welcome to The Explainer. You don't always need huge explosions or crazy special effects to make a thriller that'll have you on the edge of your seat. Today, we're going to prove it by breaking down a film that does it all from inside a single room with 12 total strangers. So, you see quotes like this all the time, right? A masterclass. It's a pretty bold claim. What is it about this 1957 film, 12 Angry Men, that makes it so incredibly powerful, even today? Well, let's unpack it and see what makes this thing tick. All right, first things first, why do people call this a cinematic masterclass? We're going to deconstruct this classic piece by piece to show you why it's so much more than a courtroom drama. It's really this perfect storm of incredible writing, directing, and acting. Now, it was directed by the absolute legend Sidney Lumet, and yeah, it's always on the list of greatest courtroom dramas. But here's the thing, and this is the genius move. The film's real power comes from what happens after the trial is over and the judge has already spoken. It's all about what happens behind closed doors. So forget about fancy locations and big, sweeping shots. The real magic here, the source of all that incredible tension, it all happens in maybe the most boring place you can imagine. A small, hot, stuffy jury room. This is the pressure cooker where the entire story gets cooked. And that's the absolute genius of it. The entire story, all the drama, all the arguments, all the character moments, it all unfolds within the four walls of one single room. Think about that. The dramatic weight of the entire movie rests right here, in this one space. Inside this room, you've got 12 men. They're total strangers, they're from completely different walks of life, and they've been brought together to make what is probably one of the most important decisions they will ever face in their lives. And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? 12 men, one room, and a young man's life hanging in the balance. What's amazing is how the director, Sidney Lumet, actually makes you feel this. As the movie goes on, he uses different camera lenses to subtly make the room feel smaller and smaller, like the walls are literally closing in as the arguments get more intense. So this pressure cooker setting, it becomes the perfect stage for the real heart of the film, this raw, incredible battle of wills. It's a fight between cold, hard logic on one side and hot-headed, deep-seated prejudice on the other. Now, we're not talking about a physical fight here. Oh no, this is an intense psychological battle. It's a struggle of minds and morals, not fists. Every single question, every little argument, even the silence, it's all a weapon. And really, the whole thing boils down to these two opposing forces. On one side, you've got calm reason, perfectly captured by Henry Fonda's character. He just wants to talk it out, just examine the facts. But on the other side, you've got raw prejudice, fueled by personal baggage and this desperate need to just get it over with. So you see, the engine that really drives this whole story is powered by these three things. It's the clash between logic and prejudice that ends up creating this deeply personal and really intense moral conflict for every single person in that room. And this intense battle of ideas, it leads us to one of the most powerful and honestly timeless takeaways from the whole film, the incredible power of just one single voice speaking up. That voice belongs to juror number 8, played so perfectly by Henry Fonda. He's calm, but he's commanding. And what's interesting is, he isn't sure the boy is innocent. He's just not 100% convinced he's guilty. And that little bit of doubt, it becomes the spark that lights the whole fire. And his character is the perfect example of this simple truth, isn't it? How one voice, just asking for a little more time, a little more thought, can challenge the certainty of an entire crowd. It's just a timeless reminder of what can happen when you take a stand. And when you look at it like this, the odds against him are just staggering. I mean, at the start, it is literally one single voice against 11 other guys who are ready to go home. He is completely and what looks like hopelessly outnumbered. So that brings us to the big question, right? Why does a black and white movie from 1957 still feel so incredibly smart and gripping today? Well, it's because at its core, this is a story for every single generation. The reason it's still so powerful is because the themes are absolutely timeless. I mean, the struggle to make yourself heard, the intense pressure to just go along with the group, the fight to think for yourself, these are things we deal with every single day, whether it's in a tense meeting at work or just scrolling through our social media feeds. And that right there is the core of its power. The film basically holds a mirror up to all of us, forcing us to look at that constant battle we have inside between our own reason and our own biases. It shows us how hard it can be to have moral courage, why it's so important to question things that seem certain, and it perfectly dramatizes the whole idea of reasonable doubt. In the end, the movie doesn't just wrap up with a verdict. It leaves you with this final, powerful question to think about. If you were in a room full of people who were absolutely sure of something, with all that pressure to just agree, would you be the one to raise your hand and ask that simple but profound question? What if we're wrong?